Are you minding your mental when life gets loud and nothing seems as simple? Make sure you're minding your mental. Focus on where you're headed, not just what you've been through. Nobody knows you like you do, and God will help to see you through. Be the first one to give yourself a helping hand. Just take a chance by minding your mental. Get behind that wheel and take control. You only have one life, don't let it pass you by. It's really that simple. Let's start by minding the mental.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mind the Mental Monday. It's good to have another week that has gone by, that God has kept us, and that we're able to come back with another episode of Mind the Mental Monday. So I hope that you've had a good week. I hope that you came ready to learn something, ready to delve into this topic tonight. I hope, as always, I'm going to have some practical tips for you to get. So I hope that you are ready to take some notes. So tell me how you're doing. I haven't asked that in a while. I usually try to ask that question in for Mind the Mental Monday. I um I usually try to ask the question, what oh, and I messed up. Okay. Anyway, we're gonna just keep it going. I usually used to ask the question, how are you doing? How are things going for you? And put it in the comments. Let me know how you're doing tonight and let me know just how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being terrible and 10 being I'm feeling great. How are you feeling tonight? I hope that everybody is closer to a 10. But if you're not, if you're a little bit lower, it's okay. Sometimes we have those days. And so, but the point is to think about your thinking, right? Think about how you're feeling and where your feelings are coming from, what's driving your emotions in a particular day. So I hope that, everyone is, that you are assessing on a daily basis kind of just where you are mentally and how you're thinking and how you're feeling, and where you are versus where you want to be. Or if you're already where you want to be, maintaining, a good sort of mental health state. So tonight's topic is one that, again, just like in the last few episodes, I've been dealing with things that I'm actually literally going through in real time right now. So, um, there's a movie, and I can't remember the name of this movie, but it was a movie about, and so one of y'all, maybe Joy or Minister Ebony, can help me out with this. But it was about a baseball Field of Dreams. That's it. It's called Field of Dreams. Well, the big quote from that movie was, "If you build it, they will come," right? Um, but as you live out life and as you do the things that you feel that you're called to do, sometimes that's not always true. Sometimes you can build it and either they won't come, or the ones that who does come, is the numbers of who comes is low, or at least much lower than you envisioned or dreamed would happen. And it's like, and so sometimes you are given a vision for something, but rather than going toward, getting the vision and, making sure or planning the vision or doing the things to carry out the vision, you sort of get stuck at, but what if they don't show up? Like, what if I put all this energy and effort into building this thing, whatever that is, and nobody shows up? What if I put all this energy and effort into writing the book and nobody buys it? Nobody reads it, right? What if I put all this energy and effort into selling this product that I think will make a difference in people's lives, but the people don't see the benefit that they might get from it, and so nobody buys it? What if I, take these invest in learning this additional skill, and then I get the skill, and then um there's nobody that will hire me to utilize the skill? What if I build this company, what if I build a coaching business and nobody shows up to be coached? There's just so many thoughts that can come into your head when you are a visionary and when you are really thinking about, what can I do? What is something tangible that I can lend to this world, right? What legacy can I leave, and what can I do to help this world, to help people in it? And I did an episode many episodes ago that talked about um the necessity to try, right? That's not the name of the episode, but it was something along the lines of, like, if you don't try, for sure whatever it is won't work, right? So, you're given this vision, and so that's kind of where I am right now. I was given a vision to start something. I won't say what it is right now. Um, I shared it with my team. My team knows what it is. Um, I went through, I've actually started developing it. But y'all, I'm when I tell you that I'm like scared to death that I'll put all this energy and effort into it and it won't go anywhere. That is like my biggest fear, right? And so this podcast tonight is really, again, it's one of those things. And as a preacher, a lot of times when I develop a sermon, I'm really preaching to myself. It's really the Holy Spirit that is preaching to me. And I take what the Holy Spirit is preaching to me and develop it and preach it to other people who I, will can identify with what the Holy Spirit is preaching to me. And when I tell you that this idea that I have, this thing that I'm working on, when I prayed about it, I prayed to God about it. I was just honest with God about my fear. I was like, God, I feel like I don't really, I don't have the following to do this. And he said, the Holy Spirit said to me, is your faith in the following or me? And that jolted me because it's kind of like, mm, that's a good question. Am I thinking about who's going to come, or am I thinking about being obedient to the one who told me to build it? So, so tonight I kind of want to get into, the topic of, what if they don't come, right? And sort of trying to, while I'm in the throes of talking to my own mind and trying to, kind of change my own way of thinking, my own stinking thinking, I figure I can bring y'all along for the ride too, and y'all can help me. um, y'all can either help me out, or we'll all be in on this ride together, or we'll just kind of help each other out, because who has been in this space before where you have this idea for something that you want to do, but you feel like nobody is going to support it. Nobody is going to, either come to it or listen to it or, view it or whatever the case might be with whatever it is, read it, whatever it is that you are given a vision to build. You are so um, afraid of whether or not it'll be received by other people that it paralyzes you and sort of stops you in your tracks from even giving it a shot, right? And so let's just talk a little bit about um this thought, this idea of what if nobody shows up, right? What if nothing happens? Like, what if I try and it just flat out fails? And there are so many people, there are so many highly successful people. A lot of times we, especially in this era of social media, we see the successes because that's all anybody ever shows is I did this, and it turned out great. But they don't tell you all of the like that they've been working on this thing for like 10, 15, 20 years sometimes before it actually comes to fruition. Sometimes even more than that. Sometimes 30 years. People put in 30, 40 years in honing something, and redesigning things and before it catches on, and other people start to come and want to buy into it or want to utilize whatever it is that you've developed. And so this fear really goes into it's more than just a fear that nobody will come, but it's also sort of a fear of being ignored and what that fear then does to you mentally. If you feel like when you feel like you're being ignored, you feel like some other people feel like you have nothing to offer, and so they just brush you aside. And the way that that makes you feel emotionally hurts. So rather than going through that emotional turmoil, you let the fear win and you let the fear take over. And so you end up like doing nothing as a result. Or, there's a feeling of not being supported. And I can some most of the time, right? Whenever you're trying to do something, whatever it is, the people that you think that will be the most supportive very often are not. And I think a reason for that, there's a lot of different reasons, but as I say often, you can't control what other people do or how other people respond, but you can control how you respond, right? And you can control your thoughts around it. And you can either think, oh, that person is just jealous of me, and you can have those thoughts. But you can also have the thought that that person doesn't even know that there's that expectation, or they don't really know in what ways to support. They don't know necessarily that unless they're doing a podcast themselves or something like that, they don't necessarily understand how algorithms work and the importance of sharing and commenting and all that sort of thing. Like they might support you in terms of they might encourage you and say, "Hey, keep doing what you're doing," and they might share it to an extent, but they might not just be into it like that. And you what you're reading into it is that these people or that person or whatever it is, whatever the case might be, is not supportive of me, not supportive of what I'm doing. As long as and there are some people like that as long as you're not doing more than what they're doing, then yeah, they support you. But when it looks like you're going to go above or what their idea of being above them is, they sort of kind of hold tight and like, I don't want you to get but so far. Yeah, I believe in you, I encourage you, but yeah, but I don't want you to get but so far, right? There really are those, but there really are those who it's kind of uh the way for us to think that everybody that other people views what the same what we view as important at the same level or to the same degree is just it's a little narcissistic in a way. Like, we think that because something is dear to our hearts, that it should be dear to everybody's heart, right? At the same level that is dear to yours. And the fact of the matter is, it's not just like what's dear to their heart, it ain't dear to yours necessarily. And so you're not necessarily thinking about what they're doing, right? You're not necessarily consciously thinking, well, I'm just not going to share this, or I'm just not going to, you're not really thinking like that because you got a lot of stuff on your own plate and on your own mind. So also understanding that just like you might have a lot going on in your personal life or in your work life or whatever the case might be, you want to be supportive, but at the same time, you just don't have the bandwidth or frankly, sometimes even the desire because you're trying to get through your own stuff, right? To be always there, at somebody's beck and call when they think that you're supposed to be there. So I think that there's a lot that we have to learn about ourselves when we fear kind of putting things out. We also have to be aware of as we are asking others to support us, like how supportive have we been of what they're trying to do? And sometimes it's not an equal exchange. Not that you want to be transactional, but it's just not, it's not equal. And you feel like there are people that you do the most, like putting their stuff out and telling everybody about their stuff, and then when it comes to your stuff, it's crickets. Again, there is some of that, but sometimes it really is that people's lives are lifing, and it's enough to think about the things that they have to do on a day-to-day basis than to be super conscious of what they're doing or not doing with ensuring or helping you achieve your dream or your vision. Hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. Um, so let's talk about, why sometimes the fear happens. Because sometimes, the loudest fear isn't so much rejection, but it's just like silence altogether. Like when you just feel like it's just nobody's saying anything. You feel like you're putting your whole gut into what you're doing and it's like crickets. It can be a little unnerving, right? And so the reason that this kind of paralyzing fear can happen when you're wanting to build something and you're wanting to share in the mindset, if you build it, they will come. You have to understand that when you build it, they have to have something to come to. Like whatever it is you're building, it has to be something valuable that they're willing to invest, whether it's their money or their time. It has to be something that is actually helpful to them, something that is actually going to benefit them in some kind of way, that they feel that this type of investment is worth whatever it is that they're investing. But the other thing is that a lot of times we kind of want to guarantee that something will work before we work it. And the truth of the matter is that is almost always not true. Like not possible. Like you can't really possibly know how effective something might be or how something might work. There are no guarantees unless you try. You can't, there just isn't. So we want some kind of guarantee that this is going to work, that whatever it is that we've designed or developed is going to be helpful, or, that people are going to buy into it. And there's just no guarantee of that. We want to have some kind of signs that this is actually going to be beneficial. Um, and we want a confirmation before the commitment. The truth of the matter is the commitment must come before the confirmation. Like you have to start the thing, build the thing, continue to hone the thing, and continue to work it until something says, okay, stop, right? You have to just keep being consistent and consistently showing up. And eventually, when you are consistent and when you consistently show up, people will come. And so um, we often have the vision before the evidence, because it's the vision that you have that will then drive what you do to get to the evidence. And so, but you have to do all the steps in between the vision and what comes and the evidence of the vision, to get to where you're trying to go. And the only way that you can do that is, as I said in before in some other episode, is to start, to do the thing scared, to just try it. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Worst thing that can happen is they don't show up. Um, and so what do you learn from that? What do you get from that? Well, let's tweak it. What's missing? Let's do some focus groups. Let's, you know, um, talk to some people, in whatever the thing is that you're trying to develop, and get some feedback. Let's do that and then tweak it based on the feedback. And then as you build it, you're going to keep honing it. You're going to keep upgrading it. Hopefully, you're going to keep changing it. You're going to keep, doing something more that is going to be helpful to whoever is going to show up. But eventually, they will come, right? Now, if we don't get bogged down into how many come, versus the impact of those that do come, which unfortunately sometimes we will never know. Like, we might be impacting a few people, and then those people might take the message, that we're sharing to other people, and it can impact them as well. We will never know that impact. But does it mean that the impact is not happening? No. It's just not happening in a way that we that we want it to happen, because we want it to happen in a way that we could see it, and we can see it really, really well. That's kind of what we want. So, we just have to understand that sometimes the impact of a thing won't be seen, but if God gives you a vision, and tells you to carry it out, and shows you the steps needed to carry it out, and shows you the messages, be obedient. Allow it, and it takes a lot of faith. It takes a lot of mm, sometimes it just takes some grit. Because when you don't get that immediate gratification, sometimes it can really impact you. It can really impact where you are in life, when you don't have that desire or that confidence to go ahead and just try things, to shoot your shot. So I believe that, you should shoot your shot. Sometimes, sometimes the shot makes it. Sometimes you might feel like you're all the way at the other end of the court, and you shoot your shot and it doesn't go in. Or sometimes you shoot your shot and it does. But the point is, you got to shoot it to know whether it's going to make it or not. And then you might get another attempt. If it doesn't make it, maybe you can go from half court, maybe you can do a layup. this is good for the end, about to be the end of March Madness, right? Um, even though it's April now. But so we just have to get up the ability to say, you know what, this is scary. This is some scary stuff. I don't know if they're gonna come. I don't know if I build this thing, which is where I'm at right now. If I build it, if I put all this energy and effort, will they come? Will they be willing to invest what what I'm asking them to invest um in this? I don't know, but I'll never know if I don't do it, right? So, the other thing is a lot of times we tie our ideas to our identity. And so if it fails, then we look at ourselves as being the failure. But the only way that you really fail is to not try at all, right? Um, but just because something doesn't work out in the way that you had envisioned or the way that you had dreamed it will work out, at least it worked, at different levels at different times, maybe. But at least you tried it, you worked it, you tried your best to do all the things that you thought it would take to make it better, to make it useful, and that sort of thing. Maybe you feel like it didn't reach as many people as you thought that you had envisioned it would. But even like I said earlier, sometimes if you reach one person and that person reaches somebody else with your message, with something a seed that you planted in them, then that seed can germinate, and go on to the next person and the next person and the next person. You might not see it. That's the reality. You might not see exactly the impact that a message that you've delivered might have, but you just have to trust that it germinated somewhere, that it's growing somewhere, that it is producing fruit somewhere and in some way. And continue to be consistent in what you're doing, and don't give up. So, the fact that your idea doesn't immediately take off doesn't mean that you're worthless, that you don't have any worth. It means very often it just means that it needs time to sort of build up. And especially when you're building something organically, you're building something from the ground up. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of ups and downs and curveballs, and pits that you fall in and that you got to dig yourself out and all the things, right? There's nothing in this life that's necessarily easy. And sometimes some things aren't meant to be easy. Um, but you still try to put in the effort and the consistency necessary when something is given to you. Mind the Mental Monday, as I've said time and time again, is um, I became consistent with it, even though there are times where I felt like giving up. There are times where I literally was really about to just scrap it all together, just throw in the towel and just, I could do something else on Monday nights. That's really, I mean, I've been there on many occasions, but every time, literally every time I have thought to give up, somebody will say something, will come to me and be like, "Oh, I heard this on Mind the Mental Monday." And it really helped me to X, Y, and Z. Oh, I'm using, your lessons on Mental Monday, and I'm doing that work. And then it's like it's like God is sending, people to say, don't give up, keep going, continue to be consistent. They are coming. And so I don't worry about people coming anymore. God put it in me to do, so I just do it. So now he's asking me to take it up a notch. And, it's like, I'm excited about it. it's something that I want to do. It'll help, I will be able to be creative with it. And I love doing that. I'm on the one hand excited about it, but on the other hand, I'm scared to death. I'm just going to be honest. I really am. Um, but I am going to do it. I am. I've already outlined and made some plans, and it's gonna come. Um, and I just have to believe God, right? That He did not give me this idea to just fall flat or fall dormant. And it's not, because if I don't do it, He's just going to give it to somebody else to do. And that's another thing that God does. Like, well, if you're not going to do it, I'll just give it to somebody else to do it. So, all right. So, a lot of times um we're looking for support in something before it starts, but sometimes it takes a while for people to sort of get on the bandwagon, the proverbial bandwagon, right? They need to see some proof of something. They need to see, mainly, I think a lot of times people just need to see proof that you're going to be consistent. Consistency is important in all areas of life. When people are inconsistent and wishy-washy, it makes you it comes across that you're not trustworthy, that people can't trust you. So when you are who you are unapologetically, and you're consistent in the things that you do and in the way that you do things, and you're growing through that consistency, you're trying to elevate, and trying to take things a little higher, and wanting to succeed in what you're doing, people will see that and eventually may come on board, and really have a desire to help you, to help you take things to the next level, and garner some success that you think you want to see. So here are some practical ways to move forward. The first thing is to start small but purposeful. Sometimes when when you envision something, a lot of times you envision it in its sort of almost final form, right? You envision like the big thing happening, but most things start small, right? McDonald's started with maybe with one restaurant. At some point, McDonald's was just one restaurant somewhere. I saw a documentary about McDonald's and how it got started and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is it was just one restaurant, and that didn't really do all that well in the beginning. It wasn't even a full restaurant. In fact, I think it started out as like one of those sort of walk up, you know, kind of places. It was just a thing where almost like a food truck in a way. It started in like that. And now it's like they're just all over the world. You can go different places in the world, and there's a McDonald's, there's a KFC, there might be a Taco Bell, all these big name brands. None of them started out like that. But visionaries, when we envision things, we see the big thing. We see the big finish. We don't see all of the strife and the toiling and the turning of the soil and the replanting of the seeds and the germin and the watering and making sure it gets enough sunlight, and we don't see all of the processes that it takes to grow from a seedling to a tree, and then fruit from that tree. Like it's a long process, a lot, and we want the microwave process. We want it, let's do it. Let's go now. I want it to happen now. And it doesn't happen that way. And sometimes you won't see it happen. Sometimes the thing that you start, the seedling that you plant, you will not outlive it. It will still be growing. You'll be long gone before it becomes a tree. or before it bears fruit sometimes. And that's a reality. That's a hard reality. But sometimes, whatever you planted won't you might not see it. Moses didn't see the promised land. Well, he saw it. He got a glimpse of it, but he didn't go, he couldn't go into it. Dr. King, didn't see the fullness of the civil rights movement that he was the face of. A lot of the people who were the work behind the movement didn't live to see the first African American become president of these United States, right? Um, and so that has happened more than we know. There are people who have gone on and never got to see, at least as far as we know, in the flesh, they didn't get to see the fruits, the literal fruit of their labor. And that might be the case too. So then you have to ask yourself the question, why am I doing this? What is my why? Is my why so that I can be this great, well-known person for doing this, so that I can get kudos? Or is it really that I want to leave something that when I'm long gone, somebody will be able to pick up and benefit from it. Somebody will be able to pick up, read the book. Somebody will be able to, listen to the podcast, you know, um, that is, it'll live on, right? It'll live on as long as there's a YouTube or some kind of platform for it to live on. People will be able to go back and listen to those videos. My first podcast, Living the Word Beyond Sunday Morning, like I haven't done anything with that in, I don't know, 3 years, but when I every once in a while I'll go back and see that people are like actually still listening to it. And so I while I've sort of canceled it, I've moved on. It's still out there and it's still available on all platforms for people to go listen to, and people are. So you just have to understand what is your why for what you're doing. Is it that you want to, and there's nothing wrong with having a desire to see the big impact now. And especially if it's something that you've already put like 20, 30 years in, you know, yeah, you put that much time in something, you want to see something, right? So, I'm not saying, that you shouldn't want to see something, the fruits of your labor. But what I am saying is that you have to be clear on what your why is. And you also have to understand that your fruit might not show in its fullest ever. And that's a reality. Um, does that mean that you don't do it? When you're called to something, if it's something that you're called to do, if it's something that you believe God is directing you to do, you better do it. You better be obedient, and be obedient without pretense. Be obedient, not knowing, what God got in store for whatever it is that He's telling you to build. And sometimes He's telling you to start the building, and then He'll call somebody else to, do the middle part, and then He might call somebody else to finish it. You might not get to the promised land, but you will help guide other people toward it. You might not get there with them, but somebody, will see it, and will see it accomplished, whether you see it or not. And I know this is hard. Like, I feel like this is really a hard sort of thing, but it is a reality that we have to understand and allow ourselves to grapple with. And it's okay to grapple with it. It's okay to grapple with God with it. Like, God, you told me to do this, but I'm not seeing the fruits of it. Why? And it's okay. Um, so, what the other thing, when you start to ask yourself the question of what is my why? Why am I doing this? The other thing you have to do is to think about how are you measuring your success? What is your definition of success for this particular thing? And that's, that's something, that's a measurement. The measure of success will differ depending on what it is you're working on or what you're trying to do. How do you measure success? So, one way to do is rather than asking yourself, did it blow up? You want to, did it blow up? Was it big? Was it, we all want the grand thing, but here's some questions to ask yourself. Did I show up? Did I show up? Um, when I had the virtual event, did I show up? Was I on time? Did I respect people's time? Did I prepare? Was I prepared? You know, did I give what I had to give? And not only did I show up, did I follow through? So I'll use the example of the virtual event that I recently had. We had um a virtual event. I felt like I showed up, with the material that I had. Did I follow through? There were some people who won a drawing, and yes, I sent them their things that they won. Did I grow? I did grow because just like the thing I'm thinking about now, not that I'm working on now, when it came to the virtual event, I was like, ain't nobody gonna show up. But I was really surprised, even though the number of people who signed up didn't all show up, even the number of people that signed up, I was like, okay, I'll take it. You know, um, Maybe half the people who signed up showed up, which is to be expected. That's typically what happens with those kinds of things. But did I grow from it? I did because I learned that because I committed to it and I went on and set the date and I did it, I I grew because it was like, okay, I can do this. And next time I'll do it better because I'll give myself more time. I honestly procrastinated with getting the flyer done and getting it out and um in all of that. And I kept, I'm gonna be really honest here. I all along, I kept trying to talk myself out of it. I kept trying to think of ways to cancel it. I can't tell you how many times my team doesn't even know this, but I came really close several times to just saying, "Yeah, I'm not ready to do this right now. I'll just do it later. But what's going to happen? I'm gonna just keep pushing it off and pushing it off." So I had set the date, I had said I was going to do it, and I followed through with it. And that's growth. So, but now I have to grow beyond that because I have to stop procrastinating. When I say I'm going to do something, I've got to give myself more time and allow myself and actually put in the work during the time that I have. All right. So progress. Baby steps, as my oldest daughter likes to say that. Baby steps. Um, Separate the first attempt from the final outcome. A lot of times when it's our first time trying something and it doesn't go the way that we thought it would go, we become very dejected and we kind of like just in some cases it makes us even just totally give up ever trying again. But the first time you do something should teach multiple lessons. You should learn, um, you know, what did I learn in that virtual event? Even though that wasn't my first time doing a virtual event, um, it was my first time in a long time doing a virtual event. So I learned that I really do need to, one, start earlier with advertising it. I need to have video clips that I'm able to get out so I can really get the message out. I need to share that over and over and over again, all the way up until the event. I need to keep it in the forefront of people's minds. And I need to send reminders so that when people sign up, when they register, I've got their email addresses. I should have sent out email reminders. I did not do that. Um, Partially because I'm always afraid I don't want to be over. I know how many emails I get, and if I get a whole bunch of emails from certain people, things, websites and things I've signed up for, it gets on my nerves. I try not to do that to people, just be sending them a whole bunch of emails and things, but I should have done that. There's so many things really I could have done that I could have done way better had I taken the time to really fully prepare in a way that I should have, and I didn't, and I know that. So next time, I will be way more prepared. Uh, all right. We talked about consistency. The other thing is waiting for validation. A lot of times, we want somebody else to validate what we're doing before, or what we want to do before we do it. And listen, if God gave it to you and that's all the validation you need. If your creator validated it, why do you need anybody else's validation? You don't. So your creator gave it to you. Put it in your mind for a reason, because he knows that you have the skill that he's provided, given you what you need to qualify you to do it. So what's all this? You got to ask a thousand people before you do it. No, you just think. I mean, I'm not saying not to prepare. I think you ought to be prepared. I think you should plan out what it is you're doing carefully. But then once you make a plan, what's the point in making a plan if you're not going to follow it? I mean, a plan is just a plan, right? If you don't follow the plan, once you make it, then it leads to nowhere. So make your plan, but don't spend exorbitant amounts of time asking people, I'm thinking about doing this. What you think about this? How you think I should do it? No, you already have in your spirit how you should do it. And you just have to stand on that and be okay with it. Um, and then the sixth thing is reinterpret the silence. So we talked earlier about the fear being fear of just not hearing from anyone, of people being silent. And this is a discussion I have had with my team multiple times about Mind the Mental Monday, because most people don't comment. Most people, don't, I do get quite a few shares, but, realistically, most of that comes from my team, right? So, um, I have had those conversations of feeling like I don't think anybody's listening, and they are always like, "Listen, when I'm on other people's platforms, I don't comment either necessarily. I don't, I listen and I get stuff. I might be writing notes down, but I don't necessarily tell them, put that on as a comment." And so understand that, silence doesn't mean that it's a bad idea. It doesn't mean that nobody cares. It doesn't mean that you should stop, right? Sometimes, silence means that people are actually watching and listening and taking in what you're saying. And so, because they're so interested in what you're saying, and because they're taking in what you're saying, they don't have time to be sitting down. My team, they be like, "Listen, when you saying stuff, I don't have time to be writing stuff down. Sometimes I got to go back and listen because I just want to take it in," which is a good thing. Sometimes that's what you want, because sometimes if while you're writing down whatever they're saying, you're missing the other things that they're saying. So you want to take some time to just take it in, and then know that you can like go back to it, and you can and refresh your mind with it, so that's a good thing. Sometimes people are processing what you're saying. It's not that they're ignoring you, they're actually really taking it in. Um, and sometimes it's just early. Like, it's people just, aren't in the mindset right now to comment. Or that just might not be their thing. Not everybody's gonna comment. That's just the bottom line. Not everybody gonna hit the like button. Bottom line. You just have to be okay with that. And just believe that whoever is for is gonna get it. Whoever the message is for, in the way that I deliver it, is going to get it. Um, and then move with what you have. That's the thing is, a lot of times there a long time ago in the Christian realm, there was this, it was a book called The Prayer of Jabez. And many of us in Christianity know, that Jabez prayed to God to enlarge his territory. So you had people going around, God, enlarge my territory. But the thing is, first of all, what are you doing with the territory you got? While you asking God to enlarge it, you ain't doing nothing with what you got. So, that's the other hard question that we have to grapple with. What are you doing with what you got? Are you just, because what you have is small, a mustard seed grows into a big tree, right? So are you despising the day of small beginnings? The word tells us don't do that. Despise not the day of small beginnings. Like, what are you doing with this little bit that you have? While you're trying to get the grand thing, what are you doing with the little bit? And if you're not doing anything with the little bit, to whom much is given, much is required. If you're not even able to keep up with what's required for the little bit, my God, if you get the big bit, how are you going to sustain it? Right? So we also have to think about that we have to move with what we have. We don't have to have everything figured out. We will figure things out along the way. But start with something. Start small. You don't have to be. This is for my Virgos out there, little sis Joy. This is for my Virgos. You do not need perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. But you can be trying to perfect it little by little along the way. And the fact of the matter is, whatever it is never going to be perfect, but you can strive toward perfection. Okay. Yes, that's for my Virgos, and you know who you are. All right. I love my Virgos, by the way. Um, but yeah, you definitely know who you are. Um, so you don't need more to start. Start where you are with what you have and grow it as the process proceeds. Grow with it. All right. So what if, what if rather than your goal being to garner all of this support, what if you become the kind of person who moves even when support is uncertain? What if? What if you just made the move anyway? What if you just did the small step anyway? What if? Right? So here's some questions that I have for you. What have you been putting off because you are unsure of the response you'll get if you do it? What is it? What have you been putting off because you're unsure of the response that you'll get if you do it? What would you try if you weren't afraid of it being unsupported? Like, if there's anything in the world that you could try that you're worried about whether or not somebody's going to support it, what would that be? And if you want to, if you got something right in your mind, put it in the comments. Let me know. I want to know what are some things? What is one small step you can take this week? Don't procrastinate. This week, just one step this week. When you think about that, think about all of the steps that you take during the course of a week. It's 7 days in a week. Think about all the steps that you take. When you have a device like an Apple Watch or you have the thing on your phone that tracks your steps, and before you know it, like you've gone like 2,000 steps. It's like I went 2,000 steps already. It might be within an hour, 2 hours, but because if you're walking back and forth or it literally tracks literally every step you take. You could be going to the bathroom and it's tracking how many steps, right? So when you think about the number of steps you take in an hour, and then you think about how the number of steps you take in 7 days, we're talking in 7 days, one step. Just to put it into perspective for you. One step. What is that one step that you can take toward that thing that you are afraid to death of carrying out because your mindset is, what if nobody shows up? What if somebody does? Are you prepared? What are they going to get? What is the one person going to get who shows up? Because if you can feed the one person, then the rest who come are going to get a meal too. So don't, think, don't start your thinking at, oh, these 10,000 people that is going to hear this. No, think about the one person. What can the one person get out of this? Because when the one person gets something out of it, that one person is going to tell two more people, and those two are going to tell two more people, right? And then that will grow exponentially. You might not have got 10,000 at once, but who's to say you won't get to 10,000 or more just by reaching the one? Think about that. All right. So everything you see that is successful today, as I said earlier, started in a space where there was nobody watching. Everything. Everything that every successful business or a successful entity that has started it with small beginnings. And sometimes those small beginnings lasted for decades. Um, you listen to like the story of TD Jakes. TD Jakes didn't start out as TD Jakes. He started out in a little church in West Virginia on public assistance to feed the kids. And he started out with very, very, very meager beginnings, right? Um, and it took years for him to get to where he is right now of consistency, obedience. Sometimes we won't reach that level, even when we're consistent, even when we're obedient, and that will cause us to be frustrated. God understands that, I believe, that frustration. Um, and I'm honestly, I don't know how to respond to that. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna tell people who are there, you feel like you have put in your best, for years and years, and still, you know, um, you haven't reached that maximum, what you feel like should be your maximum potential. Sometimes we just won't understand, and we might not ever understand. The only savings grace is that in the course of that time, God used you to touch people in ways that you may never know, but in ways that were profound. And it didn't just stop at, year one, the one or two or 10 or 20 or 200 or 300 or 400 people that you touched. There's a thread that carries out through all the years. And even when you're at a space of feeling small and meager, God is still using you for the one, right? Remember that, uh, out of the 99, out of 100 sheep, he had the 99, but he went after the one, that was missing, because the one was just as important as the 99. And sometimes it is that one that will make the biggest difference. Because, in when whatever it is that you were being used to carry out. So, I want, to talk to that person and say, be encouraged, as difficult as that might be. Um, and yes, you might be frustrated, and yes, you might be angry, and yes, you might not be in a place where it's like, God, I don't understand. I feel like I've been obedient. I feel I've done everything you said for me to do. And still I'm not at this place, but understand that in the course of all of that, God has used you mightily in more ways than you might ever know. So be encouraged with that. All right. All right. So don't let the fear of no response stop your response to what you've been given to do. You've been given it on purpose. You've been given it for a reason. You have in you all the tools that you need, to make it happen. And what you don't have, you have this thing up here called a brain, that will allow you to tap into resources that are available literally at your fingertips these days, that can help you to do the thing that you are called to do. So I think I just talked myself out of some fear tonight, and I hope that you came along on this journey and that you're able to breathe a little bit easier. The fear that I had of the thing that I'm being called to do, my fears about it, I'm not going to say that they've completely gone away, having, worked through this tonight with you, but I will say, the fear is a little bit less, and I'm more motivated now than ever to move forward with it. And I'm excited to see, what God does with it through me. So be on the listen out, you will not in the, I can't even put a timeline on it, but you will hear from me, and you will know, when I launch what I am planning, when I'm cooking. You will know all about it, and I hope you'll come along with that journey, with me. All right. So, thank you again for tuning in to Mind the Mental Monday. I pray that you will, have a blessed rest of the week. And Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, as I always say. I pray that we will, I will see you, or you'll hear me. You'll see me, but I won't see you. But I might see you in the comments. So I'll see you in the comments. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I'll see you in the comments, next week. Same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on Mind the Mental Monday. Good night.
Are you minding your mental when life gets loud and nothing seems as simple? Make sure you're minding your mental. Focus on where you're headed, not just what you've been through. Nobody knows you like you do, and God will help to see you through. Be the first one to give yourself by minding the